The moment you leave Earth's gravitational field, your body starts doing things that sound like fiction. Not eventually. Not after weeks in orbit. Right now, within hours, sometimes within minutes. And most of them have a logic that makes complete sense once you understand what gravity was actually doing to you every single day of your life without you ever noticing. So let's go through them. Number 10. Your sense of taste and smell changes almost immediately, and the reason is not what most people assume. It is not radiation, it is not the food, it is not altitude, it is your sinuses. The moment gravity stops pulling fluid downward through your body, blood and interstitial fluid starts redistributing upward toward your chest and head. Your sinuses, which normally drain passively downward because of gravity, suddenly cannot drain at all. They fill up. Not from infection, not from allergies, just from the absence of the one force that was always clearing them out. Astronauts describe it like having a permanent mild head cold. Their mucous membranes swell, airflow through the nasal passages decreases, and olfactory receptors get partially blocked. Since taste is about 80% smell, food that would be perfectly normal on Earth tastes flat, muted, almost cardboard-like in space. The consequence over a long mission is actually a nutritional risk. Astronauts eat less because food becomes less appealing, which compounds the muscle and bone loss we will get to shortly. Number 9. Your circadian rhythm gets dismantled from the outside. On the ISS, orbiting at roughly 17,500 miles per hour at an altitude of about 250 miles, crews experience approximately 16 complete sunrises and sunsets every single Earth day. Every 90 minutes darkness, then full daylight, then darkness again. Your body's internal clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, was calibrated over millions of years to one 24-hour light-dark cycle. It reads light through your eyes and uses that signal to regulate everything. Cortisol release, melatonin production, body temperature, hunger, immune function, cellular repair cycles. Feed it 16 cycles in a day, and it does not simply adjust. It starts producing conflicting hormonal signals simultaneously. Melatonin gets secreted at the wrong times. Cortisol spikes become erratic. Sleep quality collapses. ISS crews average less than 6 hours of sleep per night despite sleeping schedules being built into the mission plan. The long mission consequence is significant because cortisol dysregulation over months suppresses immune function, impairs cellular repair, and accelerates muscle breakdown. It is not just fatigue. It is a hormonal environment that is actively working against the astronaut. Number 8. Your heart changes shape. Within the first few weeks in microgravity, the heart begins to transition from its normal elongated elliptical form toward a more spherical shape. On Earth, your heart works against gravity constantly, pumping blood downward to the legs, then hauling it back up. That chronic gravitational load is part of what shapes cardiac muscle over a lifetime. Remove it, and the heart, like any muscle freed from its primary workload, adapts by redistributing its mass. The left ventricle, which does the majority of the heavy pumping work, becomes rounder and slightly less efficient at generating the forceful contractions needed for high-output situations. NASA researchers found measurable spherical remodeling occurring within weeks. The long-term concern is not heart failure in space. The concern is what happens at re-entry and landing, when suddenly full Earth gravity returns, and a now spherically adapted heart has to immediately cope with a workload it has been structurally optimized away from. Number 7. Your muscles start converting fiber types even when you exercise every single day. In orbit, astronauts exercise roughly 2 hours daily. Resistance training, cycling, treadmill running, and they still lose muscle. But the deeper issue is not just mass loss, it is a qualitative shift. Slow twitch muscle fibers, the ones built for sustained effort, endurance, posture, and stability, begin converting toward fast twitch fibers. Fast twitch fibers are good for short explosive bursts and terrible at sustained work. The reason is that without gravitational load, your postural and anti-gravity muscles have no constant low-grade work to perform. Slow twitch fibers maintain themselves through continuous low-intensity use. Deprive them of it, and the body reads that as waste and begins conversion. The consequence is that astronauts returning to Earth struggle with tasks requiring sustained muscle effort even after their mass partially recovers. Their muscles are structurally different from when they left. Number 6. Bone density begins dropping at roughly 1 to 2% per month in weight-bearing bones. The mechanism here is one of the most fascinating in all of human physiology. Bone is not static. It is constantly being broken down by cells called osteoclasts and rebuilt by cells called osteoblasts. On Earth, mechanical loading from standing, walking, and carrying your own weight keeps osteoblast activity dominant. Remove that mechanical signal, and osteoclasts win. They keep breaking bone down, but osteoblasts have lost their trigger to rebuild at the same rate. The hip, spine, and femur, the bones that bear load on Earth, see the sharpest losses. After a 6-month ISS mission, some astronauts have bone density equivalent to someone decades older. The terrifying part is that bone recovery on Earth is slow. It takes years. And for long-duration missions, like a Mars transit of 7 to 9 months each way, the accumulated deficit could compromise structural integrity of the skeleton before the crew even arrives. Number 5. Your immune system begins malfunctioning in multiple directions simultaneously. Some immune responses become hyperactive, others become suppressed. It is not a simple case of weakened immunity. ISS crew blood samples show reactivation of dormant herpes viruses, including Epstein-Barr, varicella zoster, and cytomegalovirus. These viruses stay dormant in the body for years or decades on Earth, held in check by a functioning immune surveillance system. In space, T-cell behavior becomes dysregulated. T-cells are slower to respond to signals and altered in their distribution. Natural killer cell activity, the immune system's rapid response to abnormal cells, decreases. Meanwhile, inflammatory markers rise. The probable causes are multiple and interacting. Cortisol dysregulation, microbiome shifts, radiation, sleep disruption. There is no single switch. The long-duration consequence is that by the time a crew reaches Mars, their immune systems could be operating in a compromised and dysregulated state simultaneously, which is a dangerous combination. Number 4. Your gut microbiome shifts its composition in documented ways. The trillions of microorganisms living in your digestive tract are exquisitely sensitive to their environment. Changes in diet, stress hormones, circadian rhythm disruption, reduced physical activity, and even altered gut motility and microgravity all reorganize which species thrive and which decline. Studies from ISS missions show measurable changes in microbial diversity and relative abundance of key species within weeks. The gut microbiome influences immune function, inflammation levels, neurotransmitter production, including serotonin, nutrient absorption efficiency, and even cognitive processing through the gut-brain axis. A disrupted microbiome in space is not an isolated gastrointestinal issue. It is a system-level change with downstream effects on nearly every physiological system already under stress. Number 3. Your blood plasma volume drops by up to 22%, and it happens on purpose. Here is the mechanism in full. Gravity normally pulls a significant portion of your blood volume downward into your legs and lower body. The heart compensates by maintaining a certain baseline pressure and volume. The moment gravity disappears, roughly 2 liters of fluid shift upward toward the chest and head almost immediately. The heart and major vessels in the thoracic region suddenly sense more fluid pressure than usual. They report this to the brain as fluid overload. The brain believes the body has too much blood. It triggers the kidneys to increase fluid excretion through a hormonal cascade involving antidiuretic hormone and aldosterone suppression. The kidneys obediently dump fluid. Plasma volume permanently reduces. The body has now physiologically adapted to a lower blood volume state. The problem surfaces during high-demand activities like spacewalks, where cardiovascular output is critical. Every EVA is performed with a cardiovascular system running on a reduced tank. Number 2. The visual system begins breaking down from pressure building on the brain, and this one took decades to understand. SANS, Spaceflight-Associated Neuroocular Syndrome, was initially mysterious. Astronauts were returning from long missions with permanently altered vision. Some became farsighted. Some had structural changes to their eyeballs. The mechanism connects back to the cephalad fluid shift from number 3. As fluid redistributes to the head, intracranial pressure rises. The optic nerve sits in a sheath filled with cerebrospinal fluid that connects directly to the intracranial space. Elevated intracranial pressure pushes through that sheath and presses on the back of the optic nerve. This can cause the optic disc to swell, the globe of the eye to flatten slightly, and in some cases cause small hemorrhages in the retina. After 6 months on the ISS, a significant percentage of crew members have measurable changes to their vision that do not fully reverse after returning to Earth. Number 1. Your cardiovascular system loses its understanding of direction. On Earth, your heart has always worked against a pressure gradient. It knows blood needs more force to reach upward into your head than downward to your feet. The entire vascular system, arterial tone, venous return, baroreceptor calibration, is tuned to a world with a top and a bottom. Remove that gradient, and the cardiovascular system is operating in a context it has never encountered in evolutionary history. Baroreceptors in the aorta and carotid arteries, which regulate blood pressure moment to moment, receive uniform pressure signals from all directions and begin recalibrating downward. Vascular tone decreases. The system essentially unlearns how to fight gravity because gravity is no longer there to fight. The consequence comes at landing. The moment an astronaut touches down on Earth or Mars, full gravitational load returns instantly. Blood drops back toward the legs. The cardiovascular system, now calibrated for a gravity-free environment, cannot compensate fast enough. Orthostatic hypotension hits. Many returning astronauts cannot stand unassisted. Some pass out. The body is not broken by space. It is adapting perfectly to an environment it was never designed for. The problem is we keep trying to bring it back. If this is the kind of thing you want to understand, subscribe the channel. There is a lot more where that came from.